On her T-shirt was a picture of a little green alien, the sort sold in novelty shops, with a legend that read, "Have you seen my spaceship?" He averted his eyes and tried not to grin. She tugged her jacket closer. "Sorry, but they don't have any regulations against T-shirts here, do they?" "If the lieutenant sees that one, you'll find out," he said. She sighed. "I'll try to conform. It's just that I come from a very weird family. My mother worked for the FBI. My father was, in the military. My brother is—" She hesitated and swallowed. "My brother was in military intelligence." He frowned. "Deceased?" She nodded. She still couldn't talk about it. The pain was too fresh. "Sorry," he said stiffly. She shifted. "Larry died very bravely during a covert ops mission in the Middle East. But he was my only sibling. It's hard to talk about." "I can understand that." He stood up, glancing at the military watch he wore on his left wrist. "Time for lunch." "Oh, I have other plans," she began quickly. He glared at her. "It was a remark, not an invitation. I don't date colleagues," he said very curtly. She blushed all the way down to her throat. She swallowed and stood taller. "Sorry, I meant, that is—" He waved the excuses away. "We'll talk about this some more later. Meanwhile, please do something about your vision. You can't investigate a crime scene you can't see." She nodded. "Yes, sir. Absolutely." He opened the door and let her go out first, noticing absently that her head only came up to his shoulder, and that she smelled like spring roses, the pink ones that grew in his mother's garden down in Jacobsville. It was an elusive, very faint fragrance. He approved. Some women who worked in the office seemed to bathe in perfume, and always had headaches and allergies, and never seemed to think about the connection. Once a fellow detective had had an almost fatal asthma attack after a clerical worker stood near him wearing what smelled like an entire bottle of perfume. Gwendolyn stopped suddenly, and he plowed into her, his hands sweeping out to grasp her shoulders and steady her before she fell from his momentum. "Oh, sorry," she exclaimed, and felt a thrill of pleasure at the warm strength of the big hands holding her so gently. He removed them at once. "What is it?" She had to force her mind to work. Detective Sergeant Marquez was very sexy, and she'd been drawn to him since her first sight of him several weeks before. "I meant to ask if you wanted me to check with Alice Fowler over at the crime lab about the digital camera we found at the murdered woman's apartment. By now, she might have something on the trace evidence." "Good idea. You do that." "I'll swing past there on my way back to the office after lunch," she promised, and beamed, because it was a big case, and he was letting her contribute to solving it. "Thanks." He nodded, his mind already on the wonderful beef stroganoff he was going to order at the nearby cafe where he usually had lunch. He'd been looking forward to it all week. It was Friday, and he could splurge. Tomorrow was his day off. He was going to spend it helping his mother, Barbara, process and can a bushel of hothouse tomatoes she'd been given by an organic gardener with a greenhouse. She owned Barbara's Cafe in Jacobsville, and she liked to use her organic vegetables and herbs in the meals she prepared for her clients. They would add to the store of canned summer tomatoes that she'd already processed earlier in the year. He owed her a lot. He'd been orphaned in junior high school, and Barbara Ferguson, who'd just lost her husband in an accident and suffered a miscarriage, had taken him in. His mother had once worked for Barbara at the cafe, just briefly. Then his parents, well, his mother and stepfather, had died in a wreck, leaving a single, lonely child all on his own. Rick had been a terrible teen, always in trouble, bad-tempered and moody. He'd been afraid when he lost his mother.